The rural girl came to the big city with anticipation, ready to surprise her childhood sweetheart's boyfriend, but halfway through, she was hit by a playboy rich second generation and broke her mobile phone. This made Lin Xian feel distressed. It was a gift her boyfriend bought for her. Shen Zihao wanted to send her away directly with the money, but Lin Xian asked him to pay her an identical mobile phone. In order to hurry back to attend the wine tasting held by his own house, Shen Zihao threw Lin Xian a business card and quickly slipped away. If it weren't for the thought of seeing Zhao Shi, who was about to see his heart, Lin Xian would have to call the police to arrest Shen Zihao to relieve his hatred. Lin Xian, who couldn't contact her boyfriend, could only find it with a vague address in her memory. At this time, Zhao Shi was unknowingly involved in a wealthy fight, because his appearance resembled the first boyfriend of wine tycoon Chen Yimin, and his stepmother Shanli was fighting all kinds of open and secret struggles in order to compete with her for hundreds of billions of family property, so he deliberately designed to frame Zhao Shi, so that he had to obey her orders and deliberately approach Chen Yimin in order to monitor her every move. Soon Chen Yimin met Zhao Shi at the wine tasting, which instantly evoked many good memories of her and her first love. Chen Yimin didn't expect to see his deceased love in this life, even though he knew it wasn't him. He was still uncontrollably curious, and Zhao Shi pretended to meet her inadvertently, and the first meeting between the two was like the opening method of the male and female protagonists of idol dramas. This made Chen Yimin, who had always been invisible, instantly crazy, as if her first love had never left her. So she took the initiative to ask Zhao Shi for a business card, and after learning that he was a lawyer, she immediately handed over the company's legal business to him. Zhao Shi's first step of the task was successfully completed, but this alone was not enough, and Chen Yimin's trust must be obtained as soon as possible. But at this time, Lin Xian's appearance almost disrupted his plan. After a while, Lin Xian found the venue, but was stopped by the security guard because there was no invitation. Just when she was at a loss, she saw Shen Zihao, who came out to call. So he immediately grabbed a life-saving straw and said, "This person is my friend, I know this person." Shen Zihao said, "This person is not my friend, I don't know him. He likes to joke with me the most, wait a minute." Shen Zihao thought that Lin Xian was looking for him, but he didn't expect to crash into a car, and he got into a peach blossom debt, and this damn charm couldn't be stopped. So he took a number of the latest mobile phones for her to pick, but Lin Xian said that as long as he took her in, the debt between them would be written off. So the two immediately reached an agreement. In order to prevent Lin Xian from running around, Shen Zihao asked Lin Xian to hold the corner of his clothes tightly like walking a dog. Lin Xian, who had never seen the world, was full of curiosity about everything at the wine tasting, and then said without shame that it was not difficult to remember the taste. As soon as these words came out, they immediately attracted the attention of Shanli, the owner of Beatrice Wine Cellar, so he paid more attention to her. But Lin Xian's evaluation of taste and feeling is very abstract, and Shanli is disappointed with this. She thought that Lin Xian was a rare person with a talented taste in 100 years, but she didn't expect it to be. This episode passed quickly. Immediately, she focused on competing with Chen Yimin for the right to purchase Renault Winery. Just when Chen Yimin thought he had a chance to win, Shanli took out a bottle of homebrewed red wine that Mr. Jacques had been looking for, but he still couldn't change his mind. At this time, Lin Xian suddenly saw Zhao Shi and was instantly excited, but accidentally knocked over the bottle of red wine worth millions. Suddenly the audience was dumbfounded, and Shanli was even more angry. Seeing this, Zhao Shi quickly came forward to relieve the siege. Chen Yimin immediately realized that the relationship between the two was not simple, and he was inexplicably jealous. When the face was at a stalemate, the next second, Mr. Jacques found the diamond earrings lost by his late beloved wife on the ground, which was the real reason why he had been looking for his homemade red wine. In order to thank Shanli, Mr. Jacques immediately decided to give Beatrice Winery a fair chance to compete. Mr. Jacques said, "It's not urgent, ladies. I'll give you a second chance to compete again for the right to buy Renault 1. In this way, because of Lin Xian's mistake, the original certainty was ruined. Chen Yimin was so angry that his liver hurt, but on the surface he had to pretend to be generous to show respect for Mr. Jacques' decision. Lin Xian is about to lose her boyfriend. Rural girls come to big cities to find boyfriends with high expectations, but they don't expect that their boyfriends dislike her in every way. Zhao Shi said, "Why do you say come, and you don't say hello?" Lin Xian said, "I want to surprise you." Zhao Shi said, "There is no surprise, but the fright is not small. You say you're true, you don't look at what kind of occasion this is. This is not something that our small county can do nonsense." After Zhao Shi counted Lin Xian, he couldn't wait to pursue the wine tycoon Chen Yimin. Lin Xian's mood instantly fell from heaven to hell. With nowhere to go, she could only hide from the rain at the bus stop alone. Shen Zihao, a rich second-generation man who only has a two-sided relationship with him, saw her pitiful, and felt inexplicably uncomfortable. Then she saw a few hooligans harassing her, and she wanted to come forward as a hero to save the beauty, but Lin Xian, who had an explosive force value, solved them in 2 or 3 strokes. As a result, he fainted due to a cold. Seeing this, Shen Zihao took her home without hesitation. Worried about her fever, Shen Zihao wanted to help her change her wet clothes, but when he thought of her terrible skills, he instantly flinched. He didn't want to be beaten by Lin Xian with a blue nose and a swollen face. So he immediately called his family doctor and asked him to come over for help. Then he hesitated and ordered him something. When you come over later, help me buy a set of women's clothes and pants, and that, you know, in that woman's underwear. When asked what size he wanted, Shen Zihao quickly measured it visually and said, just S, just S. Soon the doctor came over to help Lin Xian change her clothes and fed her cold medicine. He mistakenly thought that the two were a couple and ordered Shen Zihao to take good care of Lin Xian. Although Shen Zihao was shocked, he did not deny it. Although he showed impatience, he still stayed next to Lin Xian all night. The next day, Lin Xian woke up and found that he was hugging Shen Zihao, and when he looked down, he found that his clothes had been changed, mistakenly thinking that Shen Zihao had done to her. Before he could explain, he immediately gave him an over-the-shoulder fall, then stepped on him under his feet and shouted to call the police. Shen Zihao cried out in pain, really kind as a donkey's liver and lungs. After some explanation, Lin Xian finally let him go. In order to stay in the same city with her boyfriend, Lin Xian took the opportunity to ask Shen Zihao to help her find a job. Although Shen Zihao is a gentleman, he is kind-hearted and particularly can't stand women's soft and hard bubbles. So he immediately called his aunt and asked her to arrange a job for Lin Xian. Immediately, Lin Xian couldn't wait to ask Shen Zihao to take her there immediately. Shen Zihao coaxed her to take her near a recruitment billboard, and then sneaked away. Although Lin Xian was angry, he also admitted it. After all, she and Shen Zihao are not relatives, and they have only known each other for 2 days. How can they really help her find a job? Just as she was about to see what kind of job she could do, her wallet was stolen. Unbeknownst to her, she came to a restaurant for dinner, only to find that her wallet was lost when she checked out. When the boss saw that she was a little girl, she had never seen the world at first glance, and she must be easy to bully, so he immediately threatened Lin Xian to stay and work to pay off her debts. Lin Xian, who was penniless and had no one to ask for, had to let her boss send her, but unexpectedly met a black-hearted boss who tried to keep her as a free long-term worker. Lin Xian said, "Boss, I've done all my work, okay, I can go." The boss said, "You broke a plate and 2 bowls today, and you miscalculated the account, so you still owe me 52 yuan. Sleep here today and continue to work tomorrow." Lin Xian said, "No, but I did it," the boss said, less long-winded. Lin Xian, who was full of grievances, still couldn't help but call Zhao Shi, but he didn't tell him about his situation, for fear that he would dislike him for being too stupid again. Lin Xian thought he could leave after another day, but the boss opened his mouth, claiming that Lin Xian owed him more than 1,000 yuan, and it was not so easy to leave, either give money or continue to stay to work to pay off debt. Fortunately, Zhao Shi, who was guilty, followed the clues to find it. The boss saw that Zhao Shi was wearing a suit and leather shoes, and he was a lawyer, so he knew at a glance that it was not easy to mess with, so he immediately admitted his cowardice and obediently let Lin Xian go. Zhao Shi didn't want Lin Xian to disrupt his plan to pursue the female overlord Shen Yimin, so he coaxed Lin Xian to hurry back to his hometown. After being placed under house arrest by the black-hearted boss this time, Lin Xian also realized that the water in the big city was very deep. She didn't understand anything, and it was indeed difficult to survive here. So when Zhao Shi promised to take her over after another year or 2, when he really gained a foothold here, Lin Xian finally agreed to go back. On the other side, Shen Zihao, who wants to realize his rock dream, is acting like crazy at his sister's house and asking Shen Yimin to pay for him to release an album. At this time, he suddenly received a call from his aunt Shanli, asking him to take Lin Xian to his company to find her. When Shen Yimin heard that his stepmother Shanli was so interested in a girl he had never met, he immediately felt that something was strange. Sensitive, she guessed at once that Lin Xian might have something outstanding in red wine, so she immediately asked Shen Zihao to bring Lin Xian to her, otherwise there would be no need to talk about investing in his album. Immediately Shen Zihao found Zhao Shi and inquired about Lin Xian's whereabouts, but was told that she had returned to her hometown today. Shen Zihao immediately rushed to the train station at a speed of 800 miles and stopped Lin Xian. The first time a rural girl met the queen of the red wine world, she showed an extraordinary natural sense of taste. As soon as Lin Xian finished greeting Shanli, he thoughtfully handed her an ashtray. Shanli said, "No, my aunt doesn't smoke." Lin Xian said, "Really?" Shanli said, "What he said is right, I smoked one just now." Shanli felt that she had met a rare talent and was ready to train him to become the top sommelier, so she continued to test Lin Xian. Shanli asked her assistant to bring freshly made dim sum to Lin Xian to taste. Lin Xian said that there was the taste of red wine in it, but the head chef categorically said that the dim sum did not contain any alcohol ingredients. As soon as these words came out, Shanli was instantly disappointed. It seemed that Lin Xian was not the person she was looking for. Still, on the surface, polite. I thought it was over, but before leaving, the chef ran over to apologize. He said that yesterday a chef used the oven to make red wine cookies, but they didn't wash them, so there was still a little red wine smell on the surface. Shanli suddenly felt incredible. Such a subtle taste residue could be tasted in one bite. Lin Xian was indeed talented, so he immediately asked her to come to work tomorrow. But Shen Zihao couldn't be happy, because he promised his sister Shen Yimin to take Lin Xian to see her, but he didn't expect that Lin Xian accidentally became an employee of Aunt Shanli. Now it was really difficult for him to be caught in the middle, but at this point, he couldn't help it. Shen Zihao took Lin Xian to his music studio. Because in order to use Lin Xian as a bargaining chip in negotiations with his sister, Shen Zihao had coaxed Lin Xian to sign an employment contract with him, and Lin Xian had to be sent by him in the future, while Shen Zihao provided her with housing and work. Although he knew that this treaty was very unreasonable, in order to stay in this strange big city and save his boyfriend's heart, Lin Xian could only reluctantly agree. So in this way, Shen Zihao and Lin Xian began a happy and enemy cohabitation life. The next day, Shen Zihao personally sent Lin Xian to Shanli's Beatrice wine cellar. Lin Xian thought she could go directly to work, but there was still a round of stricter tests waiting for her. Shanli took them to the wine cellar for a while. Lin Xian saw so much red wine for the first time, touching and looking like a curious baby, all of which Shanli saw in his eyes. Then she asked Lin Xian to write down all the red wine brands she had just seen. After all, to become a professional sommelier, in addition to a keen sense of taste and smell, you also need to have a super memory, otherwise how can you quickly and accurately distinguish the origin and vintage of red wine? In the face of the sudden exam, Lin Xian did not panic. She wrote the vast majority of red wine brands based on her memory. Shanli felt particularly relieved. She had a hunch that Lin Xian would definitely become the best sommelier in the world in the future. But Lin Xian suddenly felt inferior. She felt that she was just an ordinary girl from the countryside, and she could not and never thought that she would one day become a rising star in the much-anticipated red wine industry. So when Shanli sincerely invited her to officially join the Beatrice wine cellar, Lin Xian said that she still had to think about it. Shanli really didn't expect this, but she expressed respect for her decision. But Shen Zihao didn't understand very much. Obviously he was shouting for him to help find a job a second ago, but now he hesitated to have such a good job in front of him that others dreamed of, and he really didn't know what Lin Xian was thinking in his head. So he left angrily first. But after returning home, Shen Zihao still did not give up. After all, this is not only related to Lin Xian's future, but also to whether his album can be successfully released. Because he had just reached an agreement with his Aunt Shanli, as long as Lin Xian went to work in the Bichui wine cellar, he would sponsor him to release an album. So Shen Zihao spared no effort to persuade Lin Xian, but Lin Xian's inferiority complex was already engraved in her bones, and she didn't have any big dreams, so she instinctively resisted this difficult job. The reason why she came to Shenzhen was purely to visit her boyfriend Zhao Shi, who knew that in just a few years, the relationship between the two had become so strange that she had no choice but to think about staying. After thinking about it repeatedly, Lin Xian still decided to go back to her hometown, return to her comfort zone, and obediently waited for Zhao Shi to come and pick her up. Shen Zihao saw that she was leaving, and stopped her desperately. Lin Xian is his only hope for realizing his rock dream at present, and he resolutely cannot let her go. Immediately, the two bickered with each other, and the pictures of the two fighting intimately were all seen by Zhao Shi. When the man bumped into his girlfriend and the rich second-generation Qingqing who had just known him for a few days, he was instantly furious, so he said a lot of hurtful things without hesitation. Zhao Shi said, "Whether you believe it or not, I stayed here just because I worked here." Lin Xian said, "Part-time work. You still include food, accommodation, and sleep, right?" Zhao Shi said, "Money. Do you think I'm here for money?" Lin Xian said, "Isn't it? Do you think he will really like you? You wait to get tired of being played by him and throw it aside." Lin Xian was disappointed in Zhao Shi. They grew up together, and after more than 10 years of relationship, he actually misunderstood that she was a person who did not hesitate to sell herself for money, but she still desperately wanted to stay in this strange city for him. Lin Xian came to her senses completely, and she vowed to make a name for herself in this city with her own ability. As everyone knows, Zhao Shi didn't really want to break up with her. Because he was caught by Shanli, he had to pursue Shen Yimin. When he saw Lin Xian's desperate collapse, his heart was about to break, but he could only pretend to be indifferent and turn away. But then he found Shanli and roared and asked her why she wanted Lin Xian to stay and why he let him suffer the pain of losing his beloved. But Shanli said that she was helping them. She said that as long as he and Lin Xian truly love each other, sooner or later they will resolve the misunderstanding and envision a better future for them. Shanli said, "Think about it, when Lin Xian becomes an excellent sommelier one day, you will also become a barrister with status, and you will have your own wealth, love, and career in Shenzhen, and you will soon have all the things that young people dream of. But as everyone knows, once there is a rift in the relationship, it is difficult to go back to the past." Zhao Shi and Lin Xian are destined to drift apart. Lin Xian, who did not know the truth, had put all her energy into her work since she broke up with Zhao Shi, and only in this way could she temporarily forget the pain. Zhao Shi, on the other hand, was decadent for several days. Shen Yimin saw that Zhao Shi had taken sick leave for several days and was worried, so he personally asked his assistant for his address to see him. Zhao Shi was flattered. He didn't expect Shen Yimin to take the initiative to come to him. It seemed that he was one step closer to the success of the plan. So he immediately adjusted his state to entertain her. But Shen Yimin accidentally saw that his computer screensaver was full of intimate photos with Lin Xian, and he instantly became jealous, so he left quietly without saying a word. Then he went to his uncle's house and deliberately pretended to inadvertently tell Shen Zihao and Lin Xian about living together. Sure enough, no matter how beautiful a woman is, once she starts to be jealous, she becomes hateful. Soon, Shen Zihao's parents rushed to his studio and humiliated Lin Xian severely. Shen's mother said, "You are actually taking such a lowly woman home to live together, where do you let your father put this face?" Sure enough, there are very few normal people in the wealthy families in the TV series who know how to respect and basic upbringing. Although Lin Xian came from a humble background, he was not a person who was bullied and timid, so he quarreled with Shen's mother. Shen Zihao hurriedly came forward to mediate. It seems that this is to experience how to solve the conflict between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law in advance. After all, according to the normal plot, these two will be together sooner or later. In the end, it was Shanli who helped Lin Xian win back a city. She praised Lin Xian as a once-in-a-century genius in the red wine industry and will definitely become the best sommelier in the future. As soon as these words came out, Shen Zihao's parents shut up completely. Since then, Lin Xian has trusted Shanli 100% and regarded her as his mentor and friend. And Shanli spared no effort to cultivate her, hoping that she would grow up as soon as possible and be on her own. On the other hand, Zhao Shi also accelerated the pace of pursuing Shen Yimin, and the relationship between the two has long transcended the scope of superiors and subordinates. Although the relationship has not yet been officially established, Shen Yimin has made an exception to let Zhao Shi participate in the decision-making of all affairs of the company. Although Lin Xian and Shen Zihao always fight, their relationship has also undergone subtle changes. Although Shen Zihao, the prodigal son-in-law, asked Lin Xian to do this and that, treated her like a nanny, and often teased her, he would gently hug her to the sofa when she was tired and squatted on the ground and fell asleep. When he saw that her face was swollen like a pig's head due to excessive fatigue and drinking too much red wine, he immediately took her to the hospital to see a doctor. He said that he would let Lin Xian pay for the medical expenses himself, but when he learned that Lin Xian was penniless, he immediately quietly paid the money. He even took the initiative to find Shen Yimin, hoping that she would allow Zhao Shi to visit Lin Xian. Even if the two break up, no matter how you say it, they are still childhood sweethearts, and there is no need to die of old age and not have contact with each other. Shen Yimin pretended to agree generously, but Zhao Shi said that there were too many things and he wouldn't go. After all, it was not a serious illness. Shen Yimin is very satisfied with Zhao Shi's attitude. She hates men half-heartedly. But Zhao Shi still secretly went to see Lin Xian, and almost told her the reason why he was close to Shen Yimin. Fortunately, he was alert enough, and after noticing that Shen Yimin was also coming, he immediately reprimanded Lin Xian fiercely. Zhao Shi said, "I want to remind you that Shen Yimin's woman is not what you think. I don't want you to force yourself to stay because you hate me." Although Shen Yimin was very angry that Zhao Shi hid from her to see Lin Xian, he showed a calm appearance, and even spoke for Lin Xian, saying that Zhao Shi should not demote her to useless, and the reason why Shanli kept Lin Xian must be because she had something extraordinary. After comforting Lin Xian, Shen Yimin left. Zhao Shi saw that something was wrong and quickly chased out to explain. But Shen Yimin's vinegar jar had been overturned, and no matter what Zhao Shi said, she couldn't listen. Zhao Shi regretted his impulsive desire to see Lin Xian. He finally gained Shen Yimin's trust, and now it seems that he has to start over. The man abandoned his rural girlfriend who had been in love for 10 years for the sake of his future, and turned around to pursue a 100 billion female boss. In order to save her boyfriend's heart, Lin Xian stayed in Shenzhen and worked hard. Soon she became famous in the wine-tasting world with her natural sense of taste. At the annual wine-tasting conference, Shen Yimin, as the queen of the wine-tasting industry, wanted to frustrate the sharpness of his rival Lin Xian. Lin Xian was naturally nervous when he participated in such a grand event for the first time, so he stumbled during the first round of wine tasting, which attracted a lot of ridicule. But in order not to let her ex-boyfriend Zhao Shi look down on her, she quickly adjusted her state. Sure enough, in the second round of wine tasting, he turned the tide and won a full house of applause, and even drank subtle quality problems that Shen Yimin did not notice. I didn't expect a rookie sommelier who had only studied for 3 months to compare Shen Yimin, the queen of red wine, to him. Shen Yimin felt very ashamed and quickly fled the scene. Immediately, Lin Xian's limelight became more prominent, and she successfully helped Shan Li's Beatrice wine cellar snatch the agency rights of an internationally renowned winery from Shen Yimin's company. On this day, Meng Dehan, a giant in the wine tasting industry, quietly came to the Beatrice wine cellar for inspection. Lin Xian received him warmly and sincerely, leaving a good impression on him. But after Lin Xian learned his true identity, he began to become cautious, and instead made a lot of jokes, which made Meng Dehan furious. But for the sake of Lin Xian being a rare person with a talented sense of taste, he decided to give her another chance. So he took out a bottle of red wine he brewed himself, let Lin Xian taste it, and then said his true feelings. Then Lin Xian just took a shallow sip and poured the whole bottle of red wine. Meng Dehan was so shocked by her operation that his jaw was about to drop, so he quickly asked her why she did this. Lin Xian said, "But didn't you just tell me to let me express my truest feelings? After I finished drinking, I felt that this wine must not be kept, it must be thrown away." Meng Dehan was very happy in his heart, but he pretended to be angry and left. I thought that the matter of agency was completely messed up by Lin Xian, but on the day the results were announced, Bichui actually won the bid. It turned out that Meng Dehan had tested many tasters with a bottle of fake wine, but they were all vain and deceitful, praising a bottle of fake wine in various ways, and only Lin Xian poured the wine away without hesitation after drinking something was wrong. Therefore, Meng Dehan's words completely changed the direction of the wind, which is the influence of authority. Shen Yimin was unwilling to lose to a fledgling girl every time. Since she has lost in the workplace, she must win back in love. So Shen Yimin had a plan. She specially went to Shen Zihao to attend her birthday party, and then took the opportunity to invite Lin Xian to go with her. Lin Xian knew that it might be a Hongmen banquet, but he still agreed. Lin Xian knew that women's contests were everywhere, especially when participating in rivals' birthday parties, and they couldn't lose. So she specially dressed up carefully. Sure enough, Zhao Shi felt that her eyes lit up after seeing her, but she didn't expect Lin Xian to be completely reborn in less than half a year after coming to Shenzhen, and she looked like a rich daughter, and she was no longer the rustic country girl she used to be. Shen Yimin saw that Zhao Shi and Lin Xian were chatting so selflessly, so he hurriedly came out and interrupted the two, and said very enthusiastically that he would take Lin Xian upstairs to take a look. As everyone knows, what awaits Lin Xian will be a critical hit with a spicy eye. Shen Yimin took Lin Xian directly to her bedroom. Lin Xian saw at a glance the shirt belonging to Zhao Shi on the bed, and the room was filled with various intimate photos of Shen Yimin and Zhao Shi. This is really a good strategy. Lin Xian really misunderstood that the two had already lived together, and his heart was like a knife in an instant. Unexpectedly, not long after she broke up with Zhao Shi, his relationship with Shen Yimin progressed so quickly. Seeing that the expression on Lin Xian's face changed, Shen Yimin was secretly happy in his heart. But she still felt unrelieved, so she sarcastically satirized Lin Xian in and out of her words, asking him not to be obsessed with it anymore. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't get it. Shen Yimin said, "You are really, as he said, willful and impulsive. No wonder he regards you as a sister, understand?" Lin Xian looked at Zhao Shi with resentful eyes. She really couldn't imagine that the speed of a man's change of mind was simply faster than a tornado. Then he ran away heartbrokenly. And the playboy Shen Zihao who collected her heart has been waiting for her outside the door. He knew that Lin Xian had never forgotten Zhao Shi, so he had been hiding his feelings for her and silently accompanying her. But when Lin Xian unreservedly told her and Zhao Shi's good memories in front of him, Shen Zihao felt uncomfortable in his heart, but he still comforted her gently. However, Lin Xian was immersed in sadness and couldn't extricate himself, crying heart-wrenchingly, and couldn't listen to anything at all. Shen Zihao couldn't stand it anymore and left angrily alone. But he watched Lin Xian sullen all day after that, and finally couldn't bear it. So he secretly bought Lin Xian's favorite love necklace and gave it to her. Lin Xian was instantly happy to take off after receiving it, because she mistakenly thought that the necklace was given by Zhao Shi, but she didn't expect him to remember the promise to himself. It seemed that he still cared about her. The more Lin Xian thought about it, the happier he became, so he couldn't help but call Zhao Shi. But at this time, Zhao Shi was dating Shen Yimin, so he said, "I didn't send it," and quickly hung up the phone. Only then did Lin Xian realize that the necklace was given by Shen Zihao, and quickly took it off and returned it to him. This is a couple's necklace. She and Shen Zihao are just roommates, and they definitely can't ask for it. When Shinziheo saw that Lin Xian regarded the necklace as a hot potato and had to return it to him life and death, he was inexplicably angry. Why was Zhao so happy when he sent it, and he showed disgust when he knew it was him? So he said casually to let Lin Xian move out. Lin Xian, who had higher self-esteem than the sky, took it seriously. No matter how Shinziheo explained that what he had just said was angry, Lin Xian still moved away without hesitation. Immediately she lived in the villa of her boss Shang, and since Lin Xian left, Shinziheo couldn't lift his spirits for anything, and he didn't even want to play his favorite music. Lin Xian thought he could hide in Shan Li's house for a few days, but he didn't expect Shen Yimin to temporarily move back to the Shen family's villa in order to investigate the authenticity of his father's will, and also took Lin Xian with him. What kind of Shura field is this? Lin Xian finally calmed down and regained her turbulence. She didn't want to watch them show affection under her nose every day, so she moved back to Shinziheo's house the next day. Shinziheo was naturally so happy that the corners of his mouth couldn't close, and he was obviously excited, but he pretended to be arrogant and poisonous. Whatever you want, anyway, there is no one to call you recently. Immediately, the two resumed the mode of bickering and mutually damaging happy enemies. On the other hand, the relationship between Chen Yimin and Zhao Shi is heating up day by day, but both of them have their own thoughts. Because Zhao Shi's motives for approaching Chen Yimin at the beginning were impure, he was worried that Chen Yimin would find out that he had been deceiving her, and even helped his stepmother monitor her every move, so he was always preoccupied. Chen Yimin, on the other hand, was worried that he would regard Zhao Shi as a substitute for his first boyfriend. After all, they looked exactly the same, so when he got along with Zhao Shi, he would always unconsciously think of Lu Gang. In this regard, she felt ashamed of Zhao Shi's affection, so she sometimes resisted his approach. However, after hearing the conversation between Zhao Shi and Shinziheo that day, she completely let go of the mustard in her heart, and she finally realized that she really liked Zhao Shi, and he was not a substitute for anyone. It turned out that Shinziheo did not have enough money to release the album, so he came to Shen Yimin to borrow it, but was reprimanded by Zhao Shi. Does Zhao Shi regard himself as Shinziheo's brother-in-law? Zhao Shi said, also a child of the Shen family, she has achieved so much success in the red wine industry with her own strength, and created Xing Meijiao with her own hands. And you? If you know what music to play all day long, you are afraid that you will be played by music in the end. Shinziheo said, you will do whatever it takes to achieve your goals and abandon Lin Xian. Do you dare to talk about me? Shen Yimin saw that the two were arguing more and more fiercely, so he quickly came forward to stop it, and then asked Shinziheo to leave first, and talk about it later. Immediately Shinziheo went home to celebrate his father's birthday. And knowing that his parents did not support him in playing music, he still couldn't help but ask them for money. Shen's father was so angry that his blood pressure soared, so the father and son quarreled openly. Father Shen said, listen up, I won't leave you a penny even if I die. Shinziheo said, what did you say? Ah, don't give it to me when you die. Unexpectedly, it became a prophecy, but I didn't know that this was the last meeting between Shinziheo and his parents, but they broke up unhappily. Shinziheo is about to regret his behavior of disobeying his parents for the rest of his life. The rich second generation had just had a big fight with his parents on the front foot, and was told that his parents died in a car accident on the back foot. Shinziheo instantly felt that the sky was about to fall, and he rushed to the hospital like crazy, but he was greeted by only two cold corpses. Shinziheo collapsed on the edge of the bed and cried bitterly, recalling his disobedience and confrontation with his parents, and he was in pain. If he knew that it would be the last time he and his parents would have met, he would cherish it. However, now they were leaving with regrets, and the guilt almost overwhelmed him. He locked himself in his home all day, drunk and dreaming. Lin Xian was worried, left her job and came to her home to comfort her to cheer up quickly. But he just couldn't get past the hurdle in his heart, and always felt that it was her willful foolishness that killed her parents who loved her the most. So the idea of suicide instantly germinated. She pushed Lin Xian away hard, and then slammed on the accelerator as if she was desperate, and disappeared in a flash. Lin Xian was afraid that she wouldn't be able to think about it, so she quickly chased after her and contacted Shen Yimin. Shinziheo drove the car to the beach, and no matter how Lin Xian stopped him, he still ran to the middle of the sea without hesitation. Fortunately, her sister Shen Yimin rushed over in time, and she used family affection to awaken Shinziheo's reason and make him temporarily give up the idea of seeking death. But he still lived like a walking corpse, and no one could get him out of his grief. In order to take care of him, Lin Xian went to work listlessly every day and was always full of mistakes. Shanli was very disappointed in her and asked her not to affect her work because of anyone. But Lin Xian has never been relieved of Shen Zihao, and at this moment he has unconsciously fallen in love with him. So when accompanying Shanli to socialize, she was also absent-minded, and rushed back immediately as soon as it was over. Sure enough, Shen Zihao's condition is still very bad. Lin Xian knew that he needed to vent at this moment, so no matter how unreasonable he was, he would silently stay by his side and never give up. Because she knew that only in this way could Shen Zihao's inner pain be temporarily relieved. While Shen Zihao was immersed in the pain of losing his parents and couldn't extricate himself, his parents' company was facing a huge crisis. Shen Yimin tried his best to keep his uncle's company. She proposed that Shen Zihao take over the company, but the shareholders would rather go bankrupt and liquidate than hand over the company to a mischievous gentleman. At this point, there is no other way. In order not to take advantage of outsiders, Shen Yimin had to use high prices to tempt these shareholders to join her own company. As everyone knows, this move will lead to a breakup between her and Shen Zihao's siblings. Zhao Shi felt that her approach was too impersonal, and the relationship between the two was suspicious. Zhao Shi said, "Yimin, wouldn't it be inappropriate to win over your second uncle's shareholders at this time? After all, your second uncle just passed away." Shen Yimin said, "Personal feelings should not affect work matters, I am just doing business." Zhao Shi said, "But it's not in a hurry." On the other hand, Shen Zihao, accompanied and encouraged by Lin Xian, slowly accepted the fact that his parents had left. He decided to say goodbye to his past self who was uneducated and only knew how to spend his days drinking. Sure enough, men can only grow up after experiencing inhuman pain. In order to say goodbye to the past, Shen Zihao threw away all the things on his body. And when Lin Xian saw that Shen Zihao had also thrown away the love necklace he had given her before, he felt very angry inexplicably, so he turned around and left angrily. Shen Zihao chased after him, and then took out the necklace. It turned out that he hadn't lost it just now. Seeing that Lin Xian cared so much about this necklace now, he was secretly happy in his heart. Then he took the opportunity to let Lin Xian put it on. Lin Xian was arrogant twice, and finally accepted it happily. From the previous beating to death, to now caring about this love necklace more than anyone else, this also indicates that she likes Shen Zihao more and more, but she doesn't want to admit it. But when Shen Zihao just cheered up, he returned home and found that his villa had been seized by the court and the company had gone bankrupt. Now he not only lost his parents overnight, but also became a penniless pauper. Not only was his parents' company secretly annexed by his cousin, but even the villa where he lived for more than 10 years was seized by the court. In desperation, Shen Zihao could only go to his aunt Shanli for help. But Shanli gave him only 10,000 yuan for living expenses like sending Hanako. Shen Zihao, who grew up with a golden spoon in his mouth, felt the world for the first time. However, what made him even more desperate was that after the group of friends who usually called him brothers saw that he was down, they immediately hid far away and didn't even answer the phone. Only Lin Xian has always been by his side, teaching him how to rekindle his fighting spirit in the face of adversity. Because Shen Zihao's music studio was confiscated, he and Lin Xian had to move again. Soon Lin Xian found a 2-bedroom room with very high-cost performance. But Shen Zihao, who was used to living in mansions and villas, was used to living in such a dirty and messy house, and as soon as he entered the door, he turned around and left without hesitation. Lin Xian hurriedly grabbed him, like a child, so that Shen Zihao decided to live temporarily. Then Lin Xian took him to a food stall for dinner. Shen Zihao, who often goes in and out of high-end restaurants, is very disgusted with this kind of roadside stall with extremely poor hygiene conditions. Although he knew that he could no longer put on the shelf of the eldest young master, he would really not be able to adapt to the life of this kind of ordinary people for a while. So Lin Xian kept patiently coaxing her. When he saw Shen Zihao rushing to pay the bill, only to find that he couldn't even afford to eat the roadside stall now, and his face showed that embarrassment and shame, Lin Xian quickly resolved his embarrassment wittily. Lin Xian said, "Ah, that boss, I suddenly remembered that there is another dish to pack. You eat first, I'll pack it first." Since Shen Zihao's bankruptcy, Lin Xian has always carefully guarded his self-esteem, for fear that he will collapse because of this. And Shen Zihao also knows her good intentions. Although there was nothing overnight, fortunately, Lin Xian always encouraged him to accompany him. So for her, Shen Zihao decided that he could no longer do nothing, so he actively looked for a job. On this day, Shen Zihao plucked up the courage to go to the interview, but he met an acquaintance, and in the end he still couldn't pull his face, so he quickly found an excuse and fled. As soon as Lin Xian saw his expression, he knew that the interview result was not ideal, so he didn't babble and ask, but comforted him not to be discouraged. Everything is difficult at the beginning, and everything will be fine slowly. Then Lin Xian found Shanli, hoping that she could provide Shen Zihao with a job. After all, he is his nephew. Although he used to be cynical all day long, Shanli didn't like it very much, but now seeing that he was down like this, he still couldn't bear it, so he agreed, but he had to start from the grassroots. As soon as Lin Xian came home, he couldn't wait to tell Shen Zihao the good news. But Shen Zihao couldn't be happy. The feeling of looking at people's faces was really unpleasant, not to mention that he was still in his aunt's company. But after all, this was what Lin Xian worked hard to find for him, and what qualifications did he have to pick and choose now? So even if I was reluctant in every way, I still agreed to go to work. On the first day of work, Shen Zihao fully realized the sadness and difficulty of ordinary migrant workers. Not only did they have to get up early, but they also had to squeeze the bus. As everyone knows, squeezing the bus is a technical job. Shen Zihao was almost scared to death by the spectacular scene, thinking that this is a means of transportation for people to ride. I don't know if it's because the person I like has always been around. The young man who used to spend money and don't eat the fireworks of the world quickly adapted to the tight life of saving money all the time, and he still feels fresh and fun. Lin Xian was very happy to see that he had regained his former vitality and fighting spirit. And the relationship between the two gradually heated up. Although Lin Xian kept telling herself that she and Shen Zihao were just good buddies, and she liked Zhao Xi, when she saw someone humiliating Shen Zihao, Lin Xian immediately subconsciously came forward to defend it. Tanyina, who hated the poor and loved the rich, used to always chase Shen Zihao and wanted to marry into a wealthy family, but now when she saw that he had become a pauper, she immediately reversed her attitude and sneered at him. Lin Xian really couldn't stand it, so he quarreled with her, and then accidentally said what was in his heart. Tanyina said, "You just guard this Shen Zihao that no one wants, I will soon be different from you." Lin Xian said, "Okay, I will definitely guard it well, I will definitely not let you down, don't worry." The man abandoned his childhood sweetheart's girlfriend for the sake of his future, turned around and threw himself into the arms of the 100 billion female boss, but he didn't expect that the fake drama was completely trapped, but he unexpectedly learned that he was just a stand-in. On this day, Shen Yimin took Zhao Xi to the studio where his first love was alive, and only to find out that the reason why Shen Yimin looked at him differently was entirely because he and her ex-boyfriend Lu Gang looked exactly the same. Zhao Xi felt heartbroken instantly. He couldn't accept this truth, so no matter how Shen Yimin explained that she was really in love with him now, he was not a substitute for anyone, and Zhao Xi didn't believe it. And Shen Yimin's honesty made him even more ashamed. After all, his purpose of approaching her was even more unbearable, and even now he is still helping his stepmother Shanli try to steal her company. So he pretended to be angry and jealous, and then left without looking back. On the other hand, Lin Xian, who was abandoned by him, gradually developed a good impression of him in his daily relationship with the rich second-generation Shen Zihao. Even though Shen Zihao has nothing now, he still does not leave him. Lin Xian knew that Shen Zihao had never been able to give up her musical dream, so she secretly used all her savings to buy Shen Zihao a top-notch guitar. Shen Zihao was moved, since his parents left. Fortunately, Lin Xian has been by his side, otherwise he might really be depressed from now on. Soon Shen Zihao found a part-time job as a resident singer in a bar. But on the first day of work, he got into a fight with a group of gangsters because he saved his sister Shen Yimin's right hand when Li Yu, and his newly bought guitar was also smashed. Lin Xian saw him coming back with scars on his face, and he was worried. When he turned his head and saw that the guitar he had spent a lot of money on broke down so quickly, he was instantly very angry. She misunderstood that Shen Zihao was still as impulsive and willful as before, and did not cherish the guitar she bought, so she said a few ugly words without hesitation. Lin Xian said, "Okay, I won't care about you anymore in the future, you are not worthy of me doing this for you at all." Shen Zihao said, "You have finally said what is in your heart, let me tell you, I will leave now." Immediately Shen Zihao ran away from home angrily. But soon Lin Xian received a call from Li Yu and learned that Shen Zihao had started with others in order to desperately protect the guitar. Lin Xian was suddenly happy and distressed, so he couldn't wait to find Shen Zihao to coax him home. After a while, Lin Xian saw Shen Zihao wandering aimlessly on the street, and she shouted excitedly, but Shen Zihao ignored her and even quickened his pace. At this time, Lin Xian's entire attention was on Shen Zihao, and in order to catch up with him, she went on a rampage across the road, completely ignoring the passing vehicles. Seeing this, Shen Zihao wanted to have a hero to save the beauty, but he didn't have a boss, not only failed to be handsome, but also broke his foot, which was indeed an anti-routine idol drama. Lin Xian saw his embarrassing appearance, both angry and funny. Shen Zihao, who was ashamed and embarrassed, took the opportunity to play a petty temper. Lin Xian thought to himself that he didn't know whose thunder a boyfriend this would be, and it was really difficult to coax. But he still apologized to her gently and patiently, and then promised never to say anything about her easily in the future. Shen Zihao was overjoyed, and the two are now like a young couple in love. But Lin Xian always used her good brother as a shield. After all, the reason she stayed in Shenzhen was to recover her ex-boyfriend Zhao Shi, although she knew that there was little hope, but she still stubbornly persisted, and even never listened to her true inner thoughts. But as everyone knows, Zhao Shi has already changed his mind. Even though he knew that he would be discovered sooner or later that he had deceived Chen Yimin, he still couldn't help but want to be with her. So when Chen Yimin put down his body and begged him for forgiveness, Zhao Shi only hesitated for 3 seconds and agreed. Immediately Zhao Shi found Shanli and begged her not to let him spy on Chen Yimin anymore. He didn't want the person he loved to be her. Shanli didn't expect Zhao Shi to fall in love with Chen Yimin so quickly, and I have to say that the speed of men changing their minds is really fast. Zhao Shi said, "I just suddenly discovered that it doesn't seem to be love between me and Lin Xian." But not long ago, Zhao Shizai swore to her that he loved Lin Xian. Shanli didn't bother to listen to his defense anymore, no matter who he loved, as long as it didn't affect him to drive Chen Yimin out of the red wine world. Zhao Shi, who was caught in the handle, could only obey her orders despite all his reluctance. After all, for him, the future is always more important than love. The rich second generation fell in love with his sister's rival, and when he wanted to confess to her, he became a penniless pauper overnight because of the sudden death of his parents. Shen Zihao felt that he was no longer able to give Lin Xian happiness, not to mention that Lin Xian had never forgotten his ex-boyfriend Zhao Shi. So she decided to bury this heart in her heart, and even secretly helped Lin Xian recover Zhao Shi. Shen Zihao found out that Zhao Shi was a famous filial son, and Zhao's mother especially liked Lin Xian, and had long regarded her as the only candidate for her daughter-in-law. So Shen Zihao secretly took Zhao's mother to Shenzhen, and coaxed Lin Xian to the station to personally take Zhao's mother to Zhao Shi's house. Lin Xian was embarrassed. For the sake of Zhao's mother's health, Zhao Shi asked her not to tell her mother about the breakup between the two, so Zhao's mother always thought that the two were still together. Lin Xian had no choice but to contact Zhao Shi quickly. At this time, Zhao Shijing and Chen Yimin were chatting in the office, and they were also panicked after receiving the call. In order not to make Chen Yimin suspicious, he did not tell her that he and Lin Xian hid from Zhao Mu that they were still pretending to be together. As soon as Zhao's mother saw Zhao Shi, she accused him, scolding him for not caring too much about Lin Xian, only knowing work all day long, and keeping a straight face along the way. Zhao Shi mistakenly thought that Lin Xian deliberately blackmailed him with his mother and wanted to force him to get back together, so he complained about her, so naturally he didn't have a good face. Lin Xian also realized this, so despite Zhao's mother's repeated retention, she still found an excuse to leave quickly. As soon as Lin Xian returned home, he vented all the grievances he had suffered from Zhao Shi on Shen Zihao. Lin Xian said, "Shen Zihao, how is this? Is it smooth?" Shen Zihao said, "Is it going well?" Lin Xian said, "I was killed by you, what's wrong? What's going on? Now Zhao Shi thinks I did this on purpose, do you know?" Shen Zihao said, "How is it possible? How is it possible?" Lin Xian said, "I was almost killed by you, and now I am a bad person in his heart." Shen Zihao didn't expect that he would do bad things with good intentions, and he couldn't help but blame himself a little. So he immediately found Zhao Shi and explained to him, saying that all this was his own initiative and had nothing to do with Lin Xian. So when Zhao Shi saw Lin Xian busy in order to make his mother happy, he felt very uncomfortable. Obviously, it was he who abandoned her in the first place, but instead of having any resentment, she tried her best to take care of his mother. The more Lin Xian was like this, the more he felt sorry for her. However, Zhao's mother, who did not know the truth, kept urging the two to get married quickly. Zhao Shi felt that he couldn't go on like this, so the next day, he took Chen Yimin to see Zhao's mother. After all, Zhao's mother was a person who had been there, and she saw her son's abnormality as soon as she came, and she also guessed that something must have happened between him and Lin Xian, but she didn't poke it. After all, she had long identified Lin Xian, so when she saw Chen Yimin carrying a large bag and a small bag to come to see her, she deliberately regarded her as Zhao Shi's leader. Although she treated her with courtesy on the surface, she insinuated that Chen Yimin retreated in the face of difficulties, and it was impossible for her to accept her. Zhao's mother said, "Who said I was going to marry her? In fact, although Lin Yatu and I have not been together, she is already the daughter-in-law of the Zhao family. I treat her like a daughter, don't be confused, if you treat her badly, I will not end with you." Although Zhao's mother embarrassed Chen Yimin, she still tried her best to behave elegantly and decently, because she knew that Zhao Shi was very filial and it was impossible for him to fall out with his mother for her. And Zhao's mother saw that Chen Yimin was very polite and educated from beginning to end, and she was worthy of being a lady, so she changed her a lot. But deep down, he still liked Lin Xian more, so in order to match the two to get back together as soon as possible, he did not hesitate to pretend to be sick. Zhao Shi panicked instantly, so he quickly called Lin Xian. Lin Xian put down his work and rushed over immediately. Zhao's mother took the opportunity to morally kidnap and let the two get married quickly. She said that as long as she sees them happy and loving, it will work better than any medicine she takes. But Lin Xian was unwilling to cooperate with Zhao Shi to act anymore. She didn't want to deceive Zhao's mother anymore. But as everyone knows, Zhao's mother has long known that the two broke up. In order to make Zhao's mother happy, Shen Yimin pretended to be generous and took Zhao Mu to find Lin Xian, but Lin Xian was misunderstood as poor and loved rich. Ten Yaina, who has always been unaccustomed to Lin Xian, deliberately pulled Zhao's mother aside to slander Lin Xian in various ways, and even slandered Lin Xian in order to please Shen Yimin. Ten Yaina said, in fact, that lawyer Zhao is also quite miserable. Lin Xian was with Shen Zihao as soon as she came to Shenzhen. Shen Zihao was still a rich and handsome man at that time, and then the two of them quickly lived together, hit it off, and then they got together, dumping lawyer Zhao. Originally, Zhao's mother was still skeptical. After all, Lin Xian grew up watching her, and she still knew her temperament. But when she saw Lin Xian and Shen Zihao living together, anger completely blinded her. In this way, Shen Yimin's plan succeeded. No matter how Lin Xian explained that she and Shen Zihao were just roommates, Zhao's mother just didn't believe it, and accused Lin Xian of being indiscreet, but she still treated her as her own daughter. Lin Xian felt aggrieved. Obviously Zhao Shi had let her down, but now she was misunderstood as her cheating first, and she was simply more wrong than Dou Yi. After the comparison, Zhao's mother's attitude towards Shen Yimin immediately reversed. And Shen Yimin hurriedly struck while the iron was hot and invited Zhao's mother to her house to see her strength. Sure enough, when she stepped into Shen Yimin's tens of millions of mansions, Zhao's mother was so shocked that her jaw was about to drop. She didn't expect Shen Yimin to be so young and have such strong assets, but she didn't have the slightest arrogance of a rich man, not only respectful to her, but even personally cooked to entertain her. Such a good daughter-in-law is simply a good thing that has fallen from the sky. It seems that her old Zhao family's ancestral grave is smoking. So he immediately accepted her with a pleasant face, and used his poor health as an excuse to urge the two to get married and have children quickly, as if he was afraid that Shen Yimin would run away. Zhao Shi said, "Mom, don't say these unlucky words, we will get married." Shen Yimin said, "Auntie, I promise you that I will always accompany him and take care of you with him." Zhao's mother said, Okay. Zhao's mother was so happy that she couldn't close her mouth. And Lin Xian, who came to explain, happened to see this scene, and his heart was like a knife. She didn't expect that in just a few days, everything would change, and she would inexplicably bear a cheat infamy. Sure enough, the human heart is the least tested, and this time she deeply realized what the world is and what it is. But what she didn't expect was that what greeted her next was a more tragic fate. On this day, the Bitkiwi wine seller lost a batch of out-of-print red wine treasures worth tens of millions, and the police investigation found that it was done by insiders, and Lin Xian became the first suspect, so he was taken away by the police for investigation. Shanli, who had always valued her very much, watched her being arrested, and did not come forward to bail her afterward. Shen Zihao knew that Lin Xian had been wronged, but there was no evidence. He was worried that Lin Xian would suffer in the detention center, so he was eager to save her, so he did not hesitate to give perjury, but he was immediately seen through by the police. Shen Zihao couldn't see that Lin Xian was wronged at all, so he decided to sell the room of red wine left to him by his parents. No matter how hard or difficult it was before, he never thought about selling those red wines, because that was the only thought his parents left him. But in order to release Lin Xian on bail, he had to do this, because Lin Xian was more important to him than his life. After Lin Xian found out, she was both moved and distressed. It turned out that there was another person who had been silently guarding her behind her back, and she was not alone. Shen Zihao finally realized that he couldn't do without Lin Xian, and he didn't want to push her to Zhao Shi's side anymore. What's more, Zhao Shi only has his sister in his heart now, and it is impossible to give Lin Xian happiness. So he secretly decided to find an opportunity to confess to Lin Xian. And now the top priority is to help Lin Xian clear the suspicion. After investigation, it was found that someone had stolen Lin Xian's fingerprint to unlock the lock, and now the truth was completely revealed. Shen Zihao can finally express his feelings to Lin Xian without any scruples. But at this moment, Lin Xian learned that Zhao Shi and Shen Yimin had proposed, and the two would soon hold a grand wedding. On this day, Zhao Shi came to Shanli drunk, and it turned out that Shen Yimin had just agreed to his proposal. Zhao Shi was both happy and scared, because there was still a time bomb buried between him and Shen Yimin, and if she knew that she had been helping Shanli, Shen Yimin would probably not forgive him in this life. So Zhao Shi found Shanli to vent her inner pain. He blamed Shanli for all this. Shanli was indifferent to him no matter how unreasonable he was. As long as Shen Yimin did not withdraw from the red wine industry for a day, the fight between the two would not stop for a day. So no matter how painful Zhao Shi is, he can only continue to work for her, otherwise he will be ruined. In order to save her first love, rural girls work hard to stay in big cities. But when she made a name for herself in the red wine industry with her outstanding talent and taste, her ex-boyfriend was about to marry the female boss. Lin Xian's heart hurt so much that he couldn't breathe. She was worried that Zhao Shi would see her embarrassment, so she pretended to be calm and ran to the bathroom to cry bitterly. And Shen Zihao, whose eyes were full of her, hurriedly chased after her to comfort her. At this time, Lin Xian had actually fallen in love with Shen Zihao for a long time, but he didn't realize it. After all, her biggest wish since she was a child was to marry Zhao Shi, and she never thought she would change her mind. Shen Zihao saw her lost and depressed, both distressed and jealous. It seemed that she still lost to Zhao Shi. Perhaps his feelings for Lin Xian are destined to be buried in his heart. In this case, then continue to stay by her side as a good friend, and you may not even have to be a friend. But when Shen Zihao took the opportunity to comfort her and confess to her, she finally realized that the relationship between the two was very delicate, so she deliberately kept her distance from him. Shen Zihao said, "I hate it so much." Lin Xian said, "No, I'm fine. Friends can also give some comfort, unless you have a ghost in your heart." Lin Xian chose to dodge to avoid his sincerity, but Shen Zihao mistakenly thought that Lin Xian had no love for him and was disappointed in his heart. Immediately he found Zhao Shi and beat him hard, telling him not to provoke Lin Xian again in the future, since he couldn't give her happiness, then stay away from her. And Zhao Shi had long seen Shen Zihao's affection for Lin Xian, so he stimulated him in turn. Since he liked Lin Xian, he was braver. Shen Zihao didn't think about it, but he never found the right time. With Shen Zihao's company and comfort, Lin Xian's mood improved a lot, so the two began to quarrel and quarrel again. Shen Zihao accidentally almost slipped, and Lin Xian hurriedly stepped forward to support her. With such close contact, both of their hearts beat inexplicably. Shen Zihao couldn't help but kiss him. Lin Xian was stunned for a moment, and only after 3 seconds did he react consciously, and then shyly pushed him away. But Shen Zihao struck the iron while it was hot and confessed to Lin Xian. But although Lin Xian had realized that he was not repulsive to Shen Zihao's kiss, and even let her dear bump into each other, he still did not dare to face it, and even rejected Shen Zihao with the most hurtful excuse. Lin Xian said that Zhao Shi is already going to get married. Our relationship of more than 20 years will not be gone. As long as he doesn't get married for a day, I still have hope. Since then, the relationship between the two has become awkward. Lin Xian could no longer face Shen Zihao calmly, so he deliberately avoided him, whether at home or in the company. Shanli saw that something was wrong with the two, and she knew very well that in fact, Lin Xian liked Shen Zihao now, and the reason why she was absent-minded and unguarded all day now was all because of Shen Zihao. So Shanli called Shen Zihao to the office alone and beat around the bush with him, asking him not to miss such a good girl as Lin Xian. Shen Zihao listened to it and understood it. Just when he was wondering what Shanli meant, Zhao Shi came to them with his and Chen Yimin's wedding invitation. Lin Xian's hard-fought calm mood was affected again, and now she finally realized that it was really impossible for her and Zhao Shi. But what's even more cruel is that Zhao Shi took the initiative to invite her to witness her wedding, which was simply murderous. But Lin Xian couldn't say a word of refusal, and even pretended to bless them generously, and pretended to be chic and said that he would definitely attend on time. On the other side, Zhao Shi and Chen Yimin are immersed in happiness and are looking forward to the wedding day. Shen Yimin thoughtfully picked up Zhao's mother early. After all, she was the only elder of both sides. Zhao's mother is now very satisfied with Shen Yimin, the prospective daughter-in-law. She remembered that she had given Lin Xian the heirloom bracelet several years ago, so she was going to find her to come back. Zhao Shi felt very embarrassed. After all, he was the one who let Lin Xian down at the beginning, and he was already very sorry for her, but now he had to humiliate her again because of a bracelet, which was a bit exaggerated. But Zhao's mother was determined to get the bracelet back, and the world was really hot and cold, which made people feel chill. And Lin Xian also decided to attend Zhao Shi's wedding, and then completely bid farewell to the past and Zhao Shi. From then on, she had to live for herself. Lin Xian reluctantly came to attend the wedding of Zhao Shi and Chen Yimin, thinking that she and Zhao Shi would never have anything to do with each other from now on. But Zhao Shi suddenly regretted his marriage in public, and ran away without looking back after saying, "I'm sorry." The scene was suddenly in chaos. Lin Xian's mood at the moment was particularly complicated, but he was more sad for Shen Yimin. After all, a woman is abandoned on the day of her wedding, and that kind of pain can really be devastating. Not to mention that she is still a popular top sommelier and her wedding is in the spotlight. Shen Yimin stood on the stage in a panic and helpless, enduring the gossip of guests and the media. Just now, Zhao Shi was happily looking forward to the happy and sweet married life between him and Shen Yimin, but Shanli found him again and threatened him to continue to do things for her. Zhao Shi couldn't tolerate that his marriage was full of lies and deception, and he didn't want to see Shen Yimin, who treated him wholeheartedly, be hurt by him in the end. Long pain is not as good as short pain, and his relationship with Shen Yimin was destined to be a tragedy from the beginning. At the beginning, because of his cowardice and greed, he abandoned Lin Xian and went to approach Shen Yimin, but he didn't expect to be deeply involved in it and couldn't extricate himself. So at this moment, he would rather be ruined than hurt Shen Yimin again. So Zhao Shi immediately surrendered to the police station after escaping from marriage, and he confessed to the police about falsifying evidence in order to win the lawsuit, and then he was detained. Everyone was frantically looking for Zhao Shi, and Shanli didn't expect Zhao Shi to be so strong this time, since she would rather die than be threatened by her again, so she told everyone her whereabouts. The investigation found that there was another person who actually committed perjury, and Zhao Shi was also passively involved and used as a pawn. Shanli actually knew all this for a long time, but she still used it to blackmail him. After all, this was the best way she could think of to defeat Shen Yimin at that time. And the reason why she went to great lengths to get her stepdaughter Shen Yimin out of the red wine industry was entirely for her physical considerations. It's just that her husband is in a hurry, and she doesn't know what hidden diseases Shen Yimin has that prevents her from working in red wine. And Shen Yimin is too prejudiced against her. No matter what she says, she doesn't believe it, so she can only pretend to be a vicious stepmother and snatch her company by any means, but she doesn't want things to get worse. Shen Yimin soon learned that Zhao Shi was at the police station, so he rushed over in a hurry and asked him why he ran away from marriage, whether there was any hardship, or because she still loved Lin Xian in her heart. At this point, Zhao Shi had nothing to hide, and then he told her about deliberately approaching her and deceiving her. This truth is too cruel. It turns out that the romantic love she thought was a scam from beginning to end. So even if Zhao Shi cried bitterly and said that he fell hopelessly in love with her later, Shen Yimin could not forgive, and his hatred for Shanli became stronger and stronger. Shen Yimin suddenly felt that the world had collapsed. Even if she has a confidant by her side to comfort her, she still can't get out of the abyss of pain of being betrayed by the person she loves the most. So while Fang Weisin was not paying attention, she picked up a piece of glass in the photo frame, but fortunately, Fang Weisin found it in time and pulled her back from the gate of hell. Since Lin Xian learned that Zhao Shi was innocently implicated in perjury, he has been squatting near the culprit's house day and night, hoping to catch him to prove Zhao Shi's innocence. Shen Zihao was worried that she was in danger, so he followed her every step of the way. The hard work paid off, and they quickly caught the mastermind behind it, and Zhao Shi was immediately released, but he was also punished for this, and his lawyer's license was temporarily revoked. The first thing he did after coming out was to go to Shen Yimin to beg her for forgiveness, but Shen Yimin never wanted to see him again, so he deliberately showed affection to Fang Weisin in front of Zhao Shi, and roared for him to leave quickly. Zhao Shi knew that he had hurt Shen Yimin too deeply, and it was estimated that he would never forgive her in this life. Zhao Shi, who lost everything overnight, has been devastated since then, living as a waiter in a remote small restaurant, living in a muddle every day. Lin Xian left his job and looked for him everywhere, and was finally found by him. Seeing Zhao Shi's depressed appearance now, Lin Xian was very distressed. So even though she realized that what she really liked now was Shen Zihao, she deliberately ignored this because she felt that Zhao Shi needed her more at this moment. And she stubbornly believed that they would be happy. So she plucked up the courage to confess to Zhao Shi, hoping to start over with him. Zhao Shi was finally moved by her. After all, Lin Xian has always been by his side from beginning to end, not to mention what qualifications does he have to talk about love now, and it is the most important thing to be suitable. In this way, the two people who both belong to the heart got back together in a daze. Lin Xian immediately took Zhao Shi to the Bitqui wine cellar, and everyone congratulated them, but only Shen Zihao was on the side. In the end, he still lost his love, and maybe it was time for him to leave. The next day, Shen Zihao took advantage of Lin Xian's absence, packed his luggage, and prepared to say goodbye without saying goodbye. At this time, Lin Xian happened to come back. She saw that Shen Zihao was leaving. She was suddenly sad, and she was very reluctant in her heart, but she was not qualified to keep it, nor could she keep it. After all, she was already with Zhao Shi, and she really shouldn't live under the same roof with other men. But for some reason, looking at Shen Zihao's lonely back, her heart would hurt so much. She finally won Zhao Shi back, but why couldn't she be happy? In order to prove that her decision was right, she forced herself to stop thinking about Shen Zihao, and then focused all her attention on Zhao Shi. After all, they have been separated for so long, and their relationship is inevitably rusty, and it will definitely take a while to find the sweet happiness of the past. So Lin Xian took the opportunity to ask Zhao Shi to move in with her, hoping to get a long day and night and return to the past as soon as possible. But as everyone knows, once there is a rift in the relationship, no matter how hard you try, you can't go back. Out of guilt for Lin Xian, Zhao Shi began to change his ways to be good to Lin Xian, not only taking on housework and cooking, but even treating Lin Xian like Galleries Lafayette, for fear that she would be unhappy if she did something wrong. But Lin Xian didn't like Zhao Shi's current appearance of being cautious in everything. It seemed that his self-confidence was shattered with the breakup with Shen Yimin, and since then he has become a person who has no fighting spirit and is submissive. Lin Xian was very distressed when she saw it, so she encouraged her to go back to doing what she liked and was good at. Although his lawyer's license has been temporarily revoked, he can still engage in legal-related work. But no matter how hard Lin Xian grinded, Zhao Shi just didn't let go. She was determined to break with her past self, trying to forget the pain by escaping. Lin Xian was so disappointed that she didn't know how to get Zhao Shi back on her feet. Shen Zihao saw that she was frowning all day long, so he couldn't help but care about her. Lin Xian told him everything about the current situation. For some reason, in front of Shen Zihao, she could say what she thought unreservedly, but she couldn't do it to Zhao Shi, for fear that she would accidentally hurt his self-esteem. Although they are a couple, both of them are very tense when they get along. There are no sweet words, only mutual flattery and accommodation, and both of them are trying their best to maintain this fragile and vulnerable relationship. And only when she is with Shen Zihao can she feel true happiness and relaxation. And Zhao Shi looked at the appearance of the two bickering with each other, without the slightest sense of jealousy, and even thought it was fun, because although he was here with Lin Xian at this moment, his heart was still with Shen Yimin. Immediately he saw Shen Yimin who was longing for her, and there were others by her side. So both of them pretended to be calm and passed by lightly. But no matter how deep they hid, Lin Xian still saw that they still loved each other, but they didn't feel as uncomfortable as they imagined, because she found that she had unknowingly fallen in love with Shen Zihao. She wanted to take this opportunity to have a good talk with Zhao Shi. Maybe separation was the best choice for each other. But Zhao Shi uncharacteristically confessed to her affectionately. He admitted that he couldn't forget Shen Yimin for the time being, but please give him a little time, and he would treat her wholeheartedly in the future. Even if he drove him away, he would not leave. So Lin Xian couldn't say it anymore. After all, she begged Zhao Shi to get back together with her, and promised to never leave her. How could she not keep her promise? So neither of them talked about the word love, but promised to be desperately good to each other. Zhao Shi said, I will definitely be good to Lin Xian in this life. Lin Xian said, it will also be good to Zhao Shi, better than Zhao Shi to Lin Xian. But as everyone knows, a couple without love is destined to last long. Former couples already have feelings for each other, but they still get back together. But this loveless relationship is destined to plunge both people into deep pain. Lin Xian was unwilling that her relationship with Zhao Shi for more than 20 years would be broken up, so she tried her best to suppress her liking for Shen Zihao and forced herself to put all her thoughts on Zhao Shi. And Zhao Shi was desperately good to Lin Xian out of guilt and compensation, and both of them tried their best to create an illusion of happiness. Shen Zihao really couldn't get used to their sick relationship, and he didn't want Lin Xian to frown all day long because he was worried about Zhao Shi, so he decided to help them. On this day, when Shen Zihao saw that Zhao Shi, who had once dominated the lawyer world, was now working as a cashier in a convenience store, and even if he was humiliated by the proprietress in various ways, he did not dare to resist. He suddenly became angry. If Zhao Shi continues to give up on himself like this, how can he give Lin Xian happiness? So he took it upon himself to help Zhao Shi quit his job. Zhao Shi was very angry about this, and now he just wants to live a plain life. But Shen Zihao knows Zhao Shi too well. This is just an excuse for him to escape the past. How can a person like him be willing to be ordinary? For Lin Xian, Shen Zihao had to wake up Zhao Shi no matter what. Shen Zihao said, what are you going to use to feed her? Although Lin Xian is a bit earthy and doesn't value money, a woman is a woman, and you have to give her a shoulder to rely on after all. Shen Zihao's words made Zhao Shi gradually shaken. The reason why he agreed to get back together with Lin Xian was to be able to forget Shen Yimin as soon as possible. He had already used Lin Xian selfishly once, so from now on he had to be responsible for her, otherwise he would really not be human. So he followed Shen Zihao's advice and immediately decided to return to his profession of lawyer. Seeing that Zhao Shi finally cheered up, Lin Xian was very happy. To be honest, she still prefers the high-spirited Zhao Shi before. In this way, the relationship between the two seems to be slowly returning to what it used to be. But at this time, Shen Yimin's taste loss was getting more and more serious, and it was exposed by the media, and her company was facing a major crisis. Zhao Shi was worried when he learned about it, so he secretly dressed up as a courier to deliver medicine to her. Shen Yimin recognized him at a glance, but he still couldn't forgive him for his deception, so he went against his will and said that he was going to marry someone else soon. Zhao Shi was instantly heartbroken, but pretended not to care and left. After careful consideration, Zhao Shi decided to fight for it one last time. So he broke into Shen Yimin's house with the help of alcohol, cried bitterly and confessed to her, saying that he couldn't live without her. Why not Shen Yimin? But how can a deeply hurt heart heal so quickly? So she finally pushed him away ruthlessly. At this time, Fang Weisun happened to rush back and beat Zhao Shi, who was pestering Shen Yimin severely. Zhao Shi finally woke up. On the other side, Lin Xian also found that he cared more and more about Shen Zihao. On this day, she met a music producer by chance, so she immediately took him to listen to Shen Zihao's singing. Sure enough, he was moved by Shen Zihao's talent and decided to help him release a record. But Shen Zihao has no money to publish a demo. Lin Xian didn't want Shen Zihao's musical dream to be ruined, so he did not hesitate to gamble on his future. She and Shanli signed a lifetime deed of sale in exchange for startup capital for Shen Zihao. Shen Zihao, who did not know the truth, was excited after getting the funds, and he rented back the previous studio as soon as possible. After all, it was full of too many good memories of him and Lin Xian. Lin Xian was moved, and then both of them couldn't help but walk towards each other, almost breaking through the boundary of the so-called friends. But at this time, Zhao Shi's call made Lin Xian instantly regain his senses, so he hurriedly made an excuse to leave first. In order to completely dispel other thoughts that Lin Xian should not have, Lin Xian and Zhao Shi proposed the idea of getting married. Zhao Shi panicked when he heard about the marriage, and in order not to make Lin Xian suspicious, he could only say against his will, "Do you know that my biggest ideal before was to buy a house in Shenzhen and then marry you? But I have nothing now, and I don't have the ability to give you happiness, so I will think about it when my career is stable." Lin Xian was also relieved to hear him say this for some reason. In order to escape her sincerity, Lin Xian decided not to do anything, and she wanted to dedicate her most precious thing to Zhao Shi. The woman obviously has a heart, but she still decides to dedicate her precious first time to her boyfriend, in an attempt to completely cut off her thoughts that she shouldn't have in this way. Lin Xian called Zhao Shi into her room, and then poured a glass of red wine for each of them. Zhao Shi quickly realized what she wanted to do, and she also knew the truth about why she let go of the girl's reserve and did it. In order not to hurt her self-esteem, Zhao Shi hurriedly escaped. Lin Xian immediately chased after him. Although he was extremely painful in his heart, perhaps only by doing so could he deceive himself and prove that he loved Zhao Shi, not Shen Zihao. But as everyone knows, Zhao Shi also has someone else in his heart, so no matter how Lin Xian throws himself into his arms, he still pushes her away ruthlessly. At this point, they could no longer escape their sincerity. Zhao Shi asked, "What do you want to do? What do you want to prove?" Zhao Shi said, "I know." Lin Xian, who was seeing through his mind, couldn't hold back anymore, squatted on the ground and cried. She felt that she had betrayed Zhao Shi, and she hated herself like this. Zhao Shi saw her blaming herself like this, and she felt distressed. Obviously, the person who betrayed him from beginning to end was himself. Lin Xian not only did not hate him because of this, but he was always by his side at the lowest point of his life and encouraged him to get back on his feet. Such a good girl deserves a wholehearted love, and Zhao Shi is not worth. After the two talked frankly, Lin Xian no longer ran away. She and Zhao Shi have since retreated to the position of friends and blessed each other. Immediately this entangled relationship came to an end. Zhao Shi said, "Pursue your own happiness with your heart." Lin Xian said, "We all have to be brave in pursuing our own happiness, and so do you." Next, Lin Xian began to do his best to help Shen Zihao realize his musical ideals, while Zhao Shi secretly helped Shen Yimin find an authoritative expert in treating dysgeusia. Shen Yimin was very moved when he learned about it, although he still couldn't forgive Zhao Shi, but he didn't resist his approach again. The relationship between the two began to ease. On the other hand, Shen Zihao quickly wrote a single that satisfied the producer very much, so he immediately signed an album with him. Shen Zihao was very happy, and after so many years, he finally became an official singer. Lin Xian was sincerely happy for him, and finally lived up to her freedom to sell herself in order to help him raise funds. And the relationship between the two is also tacit. Shen Zihao never officially confessed to her because he couldn't grasp Lin Xian's thoughts, and every time he knocked on the side and added action expressions. Instead of officially responding, Lin Xian avoided it with various gags every time. Shen Zihao said, "I just felt good, what's wrong?" Lin Xian said, "What's wrong? You don't want to say that it was a misunderstanding, right? I just fell. I thought that the two would just get along like this and develop naturally. But as everyone knows, sometimes feelings can't stand waiting and consumption, especially when the other party still has a white moonlight that can't be forgotten." As the saying goes, once the predecessor comes out, the current one will lose, not to mention that he is still an object who has no name and no points, but is just in an ambiguous period, and really can't stand the slightest misunderstanding and test. On this day, Shen Zihao secretly moved Lin Xian's luggage to his music studio. Although Lin Xian cursed and blamed him for making decisions without authorization, pretending to be arrogant and reluctant, he was actually secretly happy in his heart. In this way, her relationship with Shen Zihao can naturally go further. So this time she did not push Shen Zihao away, but looked forward to the next kiss. But suddenly a phone call interrupted everything, and Shen Zihao looked solemn after answering the phone, and then went out in a hurry. Unsurprisingly, his dead first love, Bai Yueguang, came to attack him again. Shen Zihao was an affectionate and dedicated rich second generation, but his first love quietly betrayed him, and then he flew away with other men openly. From then on, Shen Zihao no longer believed in love and became a playboy in the game world, until he met Lin Xian. He completely stopped his heart. But just when he was about to achieve positive results with Lin Xian, his first love came back. Shen Zihao's heart was shaken instantly, although he refused to get back together with her without hesitation, but Lin Xian saw in his eyes the sadness he had never felt before. So she was also shaken. Maybe she and Shen Zihao were destined to have no fate. Lin Xian had no choice but to hide his sincerity again, and then continue to use his identity as a good buddy, pretending to bless Shen Zihao generously. And at this time, Shen Zihao was also extremely entangled. He thought that his first love was because he fell in love with someone else, so he cruelly abandoned him and went abroad, so that he had been hating her for so many years. But now I found out that Lin Xiu was seriously ill and didn't want to drag him down, so he secretly hid alone for treatment. After learning the truth, Shen Zihao's hatred for Lin Xiu disappeared in an instant, and he even felt a little guilty. So when Lin Xiu confessed affectionately to him and eagerly hoped to get back together with him, Shen Zihao was shaken, but did not agree immediately. Because at this moment, he couldn't tell what kind of feelings he had for Lin Xiu, not to mention that he knew very well that he had fallen in love with Lin Xian for a long time, but Lin Xian had never expressed his position, and he was not sure if Lin Xian liked him too. So Shen Zihao decided to test Lin Xian's sincerity one last time. He wrote all his feelings for Lin Xian into a newly created song, and then took advantage of the fact that he was talking to the producer about the creative concept, and said it sideways. Lin Xian knew very well that this song was written for her, but she didn't have the courage to accept it. Since separating from Zhao Xi, she has become very unconfident emotionally. She was afraid that Shen Zihao only liked her for a while, not to mention that she clearly felt that Shen Zihao had not completely let go of his ex-girlfriend. So Lin Xian finally chose to escape. Lin Xian said, "Aren't you and Siyu very good? Let me tell you, I'm not a man. If I were a man, you would have a strong rival. Cherish it and go to sleep." Although Lin Xian behaved very dashing in front of Shen Zihao, in the dead of night, he still couldn't help but cry sadly. Lin Xian had to help her predecessor Zhao Xi save Shen Yimin the next day, because she really hoped that Zhao Xi could be happy. So she personally found Shen Yimin and begged her to forgive Zhao Xi. After all, it is not easy to find someone who loves each other, so don't miss it because of a momentary impulsion. At this time, an employee who was fired by Shen Yimin took the opportunity to take her hostage, and Zhao Xi happened to arrive and saw the scene, so he did not hesitate to step forward and fight the robbers. During the argument between the two, Zhao Xi was stabbed. Shen Yimin was both moved and blamed himself, and stayed silently by Zhao Xi's side until he woke up and left secretly. As soon as Zhao Xi was discharged from the hospital, he couldn't wait to find Shen Yimin and begged her for forgiveness again. And Shen Yimin let go the moment she saw him hurt her, and she decided not to run away anymore. Since she and Zhao Xi love each other, they should cherish the time they can be together. After all, no one can guarantee which will come first, tomorrow or the accident. So the two got back together. This time there were no more secrets and concealments, and both of them felt the long-lost happiness and sweetness. And Shen Zihao finally compromised under Lin Xiu's stalking, so he promised to try again with her. However, a woman's sixth sense is very sharp, and Lin Xiu quickly realized that Shen Zihao and Lin Xian were not just good buddies as they said. But Lin Xiu did not domineeringly let Shen Zihao and Lin Xian keep their distance, but acted very generous. Even though he knew that they lived under the same roof, he was not jealous, and he also regarded Lin Xian as a good friend, and often went to her to drink and chat when he had nothing to do. Lin Xiu's understanding and generosity made Lin Xian dare not show his feelings for Shen Zihao even more. Even in order not to let Lin Xiu misunderstand, she endured her heartache and completely cut off the possibility between herself and Shen Zihao. Lin Xian deliberately said that she had a boyfriend. On this day, Zhao Xi came to Lin Xian, and when he saw that there was an extra girl next to Shinzaheo, he was both surprised and angry, and just wanted to ask Shinzaheo why he was so half-hearted, but he was interrupted by Lin Xian. Then Lin Xian casually grabbed a person beside him as a shield and said, "I just wanted to tell you, well, I want to tell you, I'm dating Shizhen." As soon as these words came out, everyone was stunned. Shinzaheo said, "Let go." "Ah, do you know what you're doing?" Lin Xian said, "What are you doing?" Shinzaheo said, "As a friend, I want to remind you here that he is so much older than you, and you are not suitable at all." Lin Xian said, "What are you talking about? Don't touch me." Shinzaheo misunderstood that Lin Xian was with a tyrant who was more than a teenager than himself, and instantly became furious, so he had a big fight with him. As everyone knows, this is just Lin Xian asked Shizhen to cooperate with her in a scene in order to completely cut off the possibility between her and Shinzaheo. Lin Xian endured the heartache, and then showed that he loved Shizhen very much, and emphasized that they were just good buddies, and he was not qualified to interfere with her feelings. Shinzaheo had nothing to say about this, left a sentence of, "Whatever you want," and turned away angrily. Then Lin Xian's tears couldn't stop anymore, and she pushed her loved one away with her own hands, and the heartache was really about to suffocate her. And Shinzaheo regretted that he was talking too much after he went back. He was worried that Lin Xian would no longer pay attention to him, and he didn't even want to be qualified to care about her. So when Lin Xian came back, he suppressed his true emotions and expressed respect for Lin Xian's choice against his will, as long as she was happy. So the two continued to deceive themselves and fall in love with each other as good buddies. Shen Yimin, comforted and accompanied by Zhao Shi, decided to let go of his prejudice and hatred for his stepmother Shanli. But unexpectedly learned that her most beloved sister was not born to Shanli and her father. It turned out that Shanli was pregnant and married her father, and all of them were kept in the dark. Shen Yimin became more suspicious of Shanli, and she even felt that maybe her father was killed by Shanli. So Shen Yimin secretly sent someone to reinvestigate the cause of her father's death, and sure enough, it was discovered that Shanli had tampered with the truth about her father's death. It turned out that Shen Jianhua did not die of a stroke, but of a heart attack. Later, in Shen Jianhua's study, he found that the medicine he was taking had been repackaged. Shanli thus became the biggest suspect and was immediately taken away by the police. As soon as this news came out, the stock price of Beatrice Group plummeted, and partners also demanded the termination of the contract, and Beatrice was about to face the risk of bankruptcy liquidation. Lin Xian never believed that Shanli would be the kind of person who would do anything for profit, so while looking for a lawyer to defend Shanli, he was doing his best to help her keep the company. Shinzaheo has always fought side by side with her. After their efforts, Beatrice ushered in a glimmer of life. Lin Xian successfully found an international chain of wineries and signed a long-term cooperation agreement with them. But Shen Yimin, who was blinded by hatred, immediately cut off his beard when he learned about it and snatched Beatrice's only lifesaver at a very low price. At this time, Shen Yimin also discovered the truth from his father's study that he could not engage in the wine industry, and it turned out that he had congenital heart disease. So in order to continue to operate and expand his career territory, she took the opportunity to poach Lin Xian. As long as Lin Xian promised to go to her company to work for her, she would let BitQi go. After careful consideration, Lin Xian agreed, but did not tell anyone about the difficulties, especially Shinzaheo. After all, he finally realized his musical ideals. He should have better development, and he must not be dragged down by this. And Lin Xiu found that Shinzaheo cared more and more about Lin Xian, although he kept saying that they were just good buddies, but every time Lin Xian had something to do, he rushed to the front, and his girlfriend was simply in vain. So Lin Xiu privately contacted the record company in Beijing, hoping that Shinzaheo could go to Beijing with her. But Shinzaheo made an excuse that now Beatrice was facing a crisis, and he couldn't leave at this time. How could Lin Xiu not know? In fact, Shinzaheo was reluctant to Lin Xian. Immediately she found Lin Xian and declared sovereignty with her. But Lin Xiu was not so scheming. She sincerely expressed her hope to compete fairly with her, so that Lin Xian didn't have to run away anymore, just give Shinzaheo the final choice, even if the result was not as good as he wanted, she admitted it. But on the contrary, Lin Xiu's words made Lin Xian dare not and could not express his feelings even more, and even really felt that Lin Xiu was a good girl, more suitable for being with Shinzaheo than her. Soon Lin Xian's joining Shen Yimin's company was exposed by the media. Shinzaheo was angry about this and asked her why she did this. Lin Xian deliberately portrayed herself as a person whose interests came first. She said, with Beatrice's current situation, without waiting for the single to come out, Beatrice is gone. But I have other possibilities. I can go to Shengmijia. I have other hopes. Shinzaheo was very disappointed with this. He really didn't believe that the person he loved would be such a treacherous person. he always felt that Lin Xian must have a hard time. In order to let Shen Zihao go to Beijing for development with peace of mind, Lin Xian made an appointment with him, and then deliberately threw away the love necklace he gave her in front of him without hesitation, saying that they had nothing to do with each other. Then he left without looking back. Shen Zihao was disappointed with this and immediately decided to go to the United States with Lin Xiu. Lin Xian forced a smile to see Shen Zihao off, although he was reluctant to give up in his heart, but he never said a word of retention. I thought the two would miss it because of this. However, the next day, Shen Yimin announced the acquisition of the Beatrice wine cellar in public, and Lin Xian was instantly stunned. It seems that she sacrificed herself to change jobs to Sheng Mei's house is worthless, and in the end she still failed to protect Beatrice. Shen Zihao saw the news on the way to the airport, so he turned around and went back without hesitation. Soon he found Lin Xian, who was sad alone in the park. Before that, he happened to see Lin Xian's lifelong contract of sale signed with Beatrice so that he could successfully release the album. He was both happy and distressed. How could there be such a stupid girl in the world, silently giving everything, but carrying it alone when encountering difficulties? Fortunately, he discovered the intentions she was trying to hide, otherwise he would really regret it for the rest of his life. And Lin Xiu looked at the picture of the two hugging each other intimately, and instantly guessed what the result was. Instead of waiting to be broken up, it is better to take the initiative to leave in style. After Shen Zihao returned home, he received a farewell letter from Lin Xiu, and even helped him and Lin Xian find the lost love necklace. Shen Zihao thanked her for her fulfillment and blessings, so he didn't go to her again. Instead, he and Lin Xian did their best to save Beatrice. Shen Zihao wanted to wake up his sister Shen Yimin and ask her not to be blinded by hatred and do something she regretted. But Shen Yimin originally planned to hand over Beatrice to Lin Xian in the future, and as for Shanli, she couldn't let it go. Shen Yimin said, "I just can't see it, this matter shouldn't be handled like this." Shen Zihao said, "Okay, Zihao. If you love her, you will marry her. I can see that she will be our Shen family's daughter-in-law in the future, so that she can regain control of Beatrice, otherwise, everything is not to be discussed. When it comes to this, they can't refute it anymore. Now we can only find evidence as soon as possible to prove that Shanli was not the murderer of Shen Jianhua, so that the hatred between her and Shen Yimin can be truly resolved." Soon Shen Yimin saw something wrong from her autistic sister's painting, and then Xingxing took out a mobile phone, which clearly recorded the whole process of her father's death. It turned out that her father learned that Xingxing was not his daughter, so he had a big fight with Shanli, and then had a heart attack. And Shan Liu got him medicine in time, but it was still a step late. Although it has been learned that Shanli is not the real culprit who killed her father, it is still difficult for Shen Yimin to let go for a while. Zhao Shi saw her hesitation and entanglement, so he patiently enlightened her, hoping that she would not live in hatred, otherwise she would never be happy in her life. And Zhao Shi always felt that someone seemed to be behind this matter. After careful consideration, Shen Yimin handed over the evidence he had to the police. Shanli was acquitted. Shen Yimin also learned that the reason why Shanli had opposed her everywhere before and tried his best to drive her out of the red wine world was indeed for her own good. So the two let go of their past grievances and let go of their guard and resentment towards each other. Just when Shen Yimin planned to hand over Beatrice and Sheng Meijia to Lin Xian and Shanli, and he and Zhao Ziyan went to the United States for treatment, he learned that both companies had been secretly acquired by Shenzhen with a large number of shares. Therefore, Shenzhen became the largest shareholder, and she and Shanli completely lost the company's decision-making power. Now they finally learned that the mastermind behind it turned out to be Xingxing's biological father and Shen Yimin's most powerful assistant Liu. It feels really bad to be betrayed by the person you trust the most. Shen Yimin couldn't bear this blow, just because of her willfulness and prejudice. Her father's hard-earned career was snatched away by others, and she blamed herself. Everyone was worried about this, afraid that she wouldn't be able to think about it. In the end, they found her in front of Shen Jianhua's tomb and comforted her. This time she is not alone, they will fight side by side with her, and they will never let Shenzhen's conspiracy succeed. Soon they found a breakthrough. Liu was completely angry when he learned that Shenzhen had only used her from beginning to end, and did not really like her and wanted to marry her. Liu said, "Don't blame me for being unkind." He immediately handed over the evidence that Shenzhen had illegally obtained the company's shares to the police. So don't play with women's feelings, otherwise you can't afford the consequences. Shenzhen said, "It seems that I underestimated you, you actually have a backup of the information I gave you." Liu said, "Working with such an insidious person as you, if you don't leave a hand, you can't be played to death by you. If you don't want to give you heaven, then go to hell, and you will be your ghost in hell." And in the end, the biggest winner was Lin Xian. Shanli and Shen Yimin both handed over the company to her to take care of, and now Lin Xian also has the ability to take charge of herself, so she took over their trust. and Shin Ziheo and Lin Xian finally achieved positive results, upgrading from good buddies to boyfriend and girlfriend. After all kinds of hardships and misunderstandings, everyone finally ushered in a happy ending.